Welcome to another episode of RalloTech Sports Health and Fitness Podcast. Today is July 13th. It's been a minute since I've been able to drop a video or audio podcast. That's because being home, holding down the fort, taking care of everybody, it's been it's been a lot of work, but I want to put this one out to shout out a few people for sure. Attitude of gratitude, as I put before, and I have to make sure that I don't overdo it, because end of June, beginning of July, or 1st of July for us is Canada Day. We've been in a double shift week that end of June there, so it was a little difficult to put out a episode when I'm working at least 17 hours a day, give or take. That was kind of the schedule. So been 3 weeks since we've been home since Father's Day. So been happy to have my son home, my wife home, all my kids home. Everybody is safe, doing great, and just can't be more thankful for them to be back in our own home, in our own space. We're not sharing a space with somebody, but still grateful that we're able to do that. It was interesting because I had a conversation a couple days after I wanted to release an episode for I think it's US Independence Day. I was talking to my chargy, as we call it, and it's funny that we just brainstorm a few things over a conversation. And shout out to Mr. Cross, because every time we chop up a phone call, it's just always inspiring to, there's a lot more you can do, and just hearing other people sharing their ideas with you and sharing stuff that we can collaborate on. I'm telling you, man, big up yourself, Mr. Cross. I have to say that, because real talk, when you have real people that's around you, and it's one of those things that you can't replicate. There's real people that will reach out and see how you're doing. Even today we had a conversation, but most of the day today we tried to spend at the lake, because it was a nice hot day, up to 28 degrees Celsius, and couldn't ask for a better day. But other things on the agenda that I would like to I'm talking about it now because it's going to be manifest real soon. I'd like to start put out some merch that people can pick up. It's going to be doing a storefront that people can buy merch and get shipped to them, and support the cause, because I can tell you that even people that I've talked to over the last 8.5 weeks being in Calgary, it was enlightening to see how much those people impact my life and I impact their life, because it's a mutual thing. Because I still pick up the phone and text them or talk to them, even though we're not in the same space anymore. But that's how much I was grateful to have those people in my life. Shout out to Tegan and his family, and I'm telling you, it's one of those things where I'm forever grateful that I was able to meet those people. Forever grateful, because it's one of those things that I have to reflect on. And time to time, you feel as if the time that you were away, it was robbed. But no, it was a tremendous experience for us, because we've learned a lot. We're able to grow a lot with each other, be in each other's corner when we needed each other the most, and encourage each other along the way. But I'm telling you, it's hard. It's hard to not reflect on the ups and downs and the issues that you picture yourself being in and overcoming them. So it's forever a tremendous experience that I was able to overcome. And now that we're home, we're making everything better than it was before, because we don't want history to repeat itself. But you should always be ready for anything that comes along your way. So I'm thankful for even my wife being there when it was difficult for me, and we're encouraging each other, because it's one of those things where when one feels down, you encourage the other. And kind of gonna quote something from a movie that I watched today. It's called The Boy Who I think it called The Boy Who Conquer the Wind, or Harness the Wind, where the mom said to the dad, what else can I lose? What else can I lose? Because I've lose my family when I move away from them. I've lose friends when I saw them pass away from starvation. And the next thing is I lost my daughter because she left for another city, because the village that we're in was starving. And I don't want to lose my boy or lose my husband because, we're being stubborn. So, saying that to say this, when God put a calling on your life and you know it's something that it's standing out to you, dead in your face, and you decide that you're going to ignore it, it's not something you can ignore, because it's something that needs to happen for the change to apply. It's another thing that if you know it's gonna need sacrifice for you to get to your goal, you have to be willing to make those sacrifices for the better, the greater good. In other words, it's one of those things where I have had this conversation with my wife recently, where I said, when you work, I know for myself, I work 15 years to get to this point that I'm at. And it is a spirit of enlightenment for sure. But it's no walk in the park when you know that you work and fought tooth and nail to get to where you are. And then people look at you like, oh, how did you accomplish this? Which, people never seen your process. They don't know the struggles that you've been through. And the fact that people are in your life and supportive and pour into you when you need it the most, it is one of those things that you have to be grateful that people are able to help you, especially when you need. Even if you don't ask for the help, they're willing to help. Because sometimes pride step in your way. The pride of a man or a woman will step in the way and be like, oh, I don't need your help. Of course you need that help. Everybody needs that help. And when you have somebody that was willing to sacrifice their time and help you out, you have to be grateful and say, you know what, one day I'm going to pay it back in tenfold. You gotta be a man about it and pay it back, because people put that time into you, and you should be able to pay it back tenfold, because you don't know when God put people in your life. And if you're going to be stubborn because, your pride gets in the way, it's going to be one of those things that's a downfall. Because anybody that can adapt with the trying time that we're in right now will fail. You have to learn to adapt. You have to adapt to the trying times that we're going through. And if you don't, you will fail. And I know I'm not following that spirit of failure. I'm not going to bow down to no Satan, because guess what? At the end of the day, I know I serve a loving God, and He wants to see us win. I know for a fact God wants to see us win. And I said this to my kids over and over again. I will put down my life if I know that it will save my kids in the future. I've lived for 41 years on this planet. I will die for mine before I make them suffer. I will make sure I lay down my life for mine before I make them suffer. And that's how serious I take this thing. And I know that God, obviously I'm not going to do suicide or anything like that, but it's like God knows the spirit that's in you. And if it's a spirit that He knows that you're going to share with the world, He will make sure, no matter who comes and stand against you, He'll make sure that you're able to share that with the world. And it's one of those things that I'm instilling in my kids, that no matter how trying things are, no matter how difficult they are, it doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. You have to teach the next generation to overcome difficulties. Don't just give up and get frustrated and walk away from it, because that's not how you solve a problem. And I've seen many kids that I had the privilege of coaching myself, and I referee games where I see frustration comes along and they end up hurting themselves more than actually doing good for their future, because they get frustrated and they throw a fit, and that never solves a problem. It's not the way you're going to solve a problem. So for me personally, I figured, one, teach the kids the right thing before they I think the Bible put it this way: train a kid the way they should go, so when they're old they won't depart when they're older they won't depart from it. I could be misquoting the scripture, but it's so true, because if you train a child from their younger to know that when difficulty comes, you need to figure out a way to find a different angle to tackle those difficulties. And I'm telling you, for me, I'm not just talking, because I have a microphone and I can say what I need to say. I'm living this experience each and every day, because it's difficult to come out of what I've been through with my spouse and my kids and still be able to, I still got to get up and go to work. Nobody's coming to save me, but I do appreciate the people that helped me along my journey. I don't look at no savior complex out there to, if I do this person will come and invest in what I'm doing. No. I believe deep down that I have to do this for my family, not to fail. Real talk. You have to do things that this is gonna uplift your family, not just put them down. So for me, I guarantee that I don't have the spirit of failure in me, and I know God not sleep. I know this. God ain't sleeping, and I know He always got our back. God got me. He got both me and my family. So I don't know how else to put it so people can really feel what I'm saying. I know for a fact that even with what Hurricane Beryl went through Jamaica and did, I have to look back on it and be like, you know what? God always have a hand over Jamaica, and I pray to God that He continue to bless them and put a guiding force over that island of Jamaica, because shout out to my other Caribbean peeps, but guess what? I'm gonna be biased with the island of Jamaica, because I want at one point in my life, me and my spouse decide that we're gonna move back there and don't deal with the cold, blistering winter here. But right now, it's time to sow seeds and reap the reward for later, because this journey is not done until your life has ended. This journey is not done for us. So all we're gonna do, we're gonna continue pushing on and persevering on, because guess what? I know for a fact that we're gonna win. I know for a fact that it might not look pretty now, but we're not just giving up. We're not throwing in the towel anytime soon. And everything that I'm doing, it has to be a family first life. Every decision that I'm gonna make, it has to be family first. And if it means that I have to do a little thing here and there so my family wins in the end, that's my intention. That's my determination that I have. And there's some announcement coming. I want to have a co-host on here pretty soon here that will share some of the things that we have upcoming. And that's why I said, a store is coming soon, so somebody can actually purchase things that support our cause, because I want to see my brothers succeed. Not only winning for my kids, but I would love to provide a way that my brothers in Jamaica and other brothers I have around the world can see a way to win and leave something for their kids. And put it this way, look at most of the celebrities or the rich people that we see that look like us on TV. Yes, they get paid a lot of money, but what do they do for their community? That's one thing I watch these days. What do they do for the community that they grew up in? What have they provided for somebody that grew up with them? And what have they provided for the community that they grew up with? Because that shapes your character in my mind. So what can I do for kids that I grew up with. Kids that when I go back home and go back to that community that I grew up in, they're now dads and they're now young adults. And when I left Jamaica, they were in primary school. For the Canadian audience that listen this, they were in their I think they call it middle school. So now that some of these guys are young adults and their parents themselves, I can only imagine what the pressure they might face, because there's a lot of things going on that we don't realize in the background. But guess what? If you can provide a way for those people to provide for their family without have to depend on the government or depend on people that you know for a fact those people are not for them, what can you do to make that so streamlined that they can, one, know that there's people looking out for them, even if they're praying and they don't know, like if they utter a word of prayer to God and they don't know who is in their corner, because I rather work in silent. I don't need to prove to anybody or show them the process of what I'm doing. They have a saying that I love. It says, even though I'm not a gangster, but it says gangster move in silence. I prefer to move in silence and do something for somebody that will bless them, instead of putting it on social media or putting it on here or putting it on there for people to see, oh, look at Rollin, he's doing so much for this community or that community. No. I would prefer to bless them in silence, because I'm not looking a badge of honor for whatever I'm going to bless somebody with. And I know I'm going to be able to provide that type of blessing for somebody one day, because for me, I was provided that when I came to Canada. I was provided people and access to people that will stand in my corner when things are dark and difficult, but still be there for me when I'm really in need. So I say this with all sincerity. I would really love for any type of collaboration with folks out there that listen to this, so I can do something for my community. Me and my wife always talk about this, so I'm just putting it out there. So anybody is willing to collaborate, I would like to do something for my community, because it brought tears to my eyes when something like healthcare that I work in, and I saw one of my cousins sliding down a hill on I know my Jamaican audience can relate to this, sliding down a hill on a crocus bag. Any of my Canadian audience listening, it's like a bag that you'd buy rice from Superstore or Walmart in, and you empty out the rice and you put sponge inside of the bag, and that's your cushion. And my cousin that I'm talking about used to be a fisherman that I grew up with him, fishing with him and all of that stuff. He lost his legs because he was diabetic, and it brought tears to my eyes, because I was driving past him and I was like, there's no way my conscience could be free where I'm driving past this guy and saw that he lost both of his legs and drive past him like I don't know him. So I stopped my car, turned around, and asked him, hey, my cousin's name is Calvin, how's it going? Like, what happened? And he's like, oh, a long time in the day, cause so I lost my leg from being diabetic. And I know in Canada that would never happen. But what I did, regardless of the situation that he's in, I said, can I offer you a ride? And it was me and my wife. Just before COVID, we were both down there for first time taking a vacation together since a long time. So we offered him a ride, and when we got to his house, there is no bridge for him to get across. So this guy would have to slide on his bum in a ditch to go over to where he lives, and then go into a house that doesn't have any form of electricity. So what I did, I said to him, do you mind if I bring you to the house? Like, instead of me leaving you on the street, and I'm not talking about like pavement. This is like a gravel road. A gravel road he has to slide on his bum. So I said, hey, do you mind if I walk with you over to the house? So I threw him on my back and walk him into his living room, and he said, this is good because I can make my way around from here. The guy lives by himself, And what he tries to do so he doesn't get too depressed, he would slide on his bum from probably about 4 to 5 um, kilometers of walking that somebody would walk, but he would slide on his bum to get up to the top of the hill so he could socialize with other people. And when he can't socialize, he would slide back on his bum down to his yard. So for anybody walking about 5 kilometers, it will take them a good hour. For him, it will take him about 2 hours to get to that destination and 2 hours to come back. So it's a 4 hour journey for him to slide up the hill, or even more, depending on if there's cars, he has to stop and get off the road. So when I saw that, I was like, how can I help him? And truth be told, before COVID happened, I was in communication with a fellow that does prosthetic legs and limbs. And I was asking him, I'm like, would this be something that, through your organization that we could provide him? Because for me, it would be a blessing because I know these people and I could provide my cousin a way to walk around again. And I look back on it and I'm like, due to COVID, we weren't able to go down and do that for him. But it's still something on my agenda because it's one of the things. I remember somebody said, we didn't have access to good nutrition and having a good diet. You eat whatever makes your belly full at night. So if it means that you're just gonna eat, and I remember this with him, he's a fellow that used to love Pepsi. So it would be a Pepsi and bun and cheese. And I'm not talking about the bun and cheese in Easter. I'm talking about like a spice bun that's packed with sugar. And then you have the cheese plus the Pepsi. That's not a healthy diet. Because I remember that because when my mom had a store, that was his go-to. Unless we had food at 10 o'clock at night. So when you're eating late, your food don't get to digest. And over time, you have a high blood sugar level. And if you don't maintain that over time, then you lost limbs. So it's one of those things that I said, for me, I have to do something to make sure that if I win, I can help others. I can help others succeed. I can help others achieve something that they never imagined that they can achieve. And for me, I've achieved something that, with the help of my wife and the guidance of my wife, we were able to buy an acreage. And we're able to have animals. I grew up with animals. A lot of people don't even know that. My mom and my dad had cows. We had chickens. We didn't have ducks, but we had cows, chicken, goats. And goats for us, we used to have to tie out like 30 goats or more before we go to school. And we'd have to feed pigs for my dad when he's not available to feed them. And anybody from my community that knows where I grew up, that pig pen used to stink. It's not, it smells funky. No, it stinks. And it's one of those things where I grew up knowing hard work. So I cannot come to Canada and pretend like, oh yeah, this is easy. This is just a walk in the park. No. I don't do things that way. And I'm going to show what I mean by living a family first life with this episode. I have some images and videos that I want to attach to this one, where it's not a full video podcast, but it will show what this week and I think the week before look like. Because I think it was last Friday we started getting some nice weather. First part of July, we're getting a lot of rain, which is the rain is good for your garden. But then in July we started getting some nice 32 degrees was one of the high that we had. 33 I think was the high, and it was staying above 24, 25. Even today when we were at the lake, it was 28. So for me, I said to my wife, this is how I was raised. When the temperature hot like this, let's take the kids to the lake. And she's like, okay, I'm on board. And we pack up the vehicle and we head straight to the lake. And if you know the type of people we are, when you come around us, just know that there's going to be some food cooking on the lake. And there is some entertainment going on. And no matter what time we get to the lake, whether we get to the lake early or late, we're gonna be having our own little lake party going on. So a day like today, kids were hungry. The first thing I do, fire up the grill, start cooking some hot dog. After the hot dogs were done, I put on like a good row of chicken and some pork and I'm telling you, you could smell my food cooking from the parking lot. And I made sure I marinate my chicken before I brought it down to the lake, and it was delicious. We had so much food when we finished eat, we had to pack it up, and then when we got home, we still were able to eat out of that amount that we cooked. So I am very thankful for how much I was around my dad growing up and just love to be around the grill. And I think until my time comes, I will still be running the grill because it's almost like a favorite pastime for me. And then on top of everything, we went out on the kayak for a little bit, and we saw people fishing, not even 200 yards away from us, and they just keep pulling fish out the lake. And I'm like, we need to get a boat and go out on that lake because we can catch fresh fish, scale it, gut it, and put it on the grill fresh and ready to eat. Because a lot of y'all don't know this, but that for me, that was one of my favorite pastime in the summers of when high school was out. I would go down to the seaside. The fisherman just come in with his catch of the day. We'd get a couple fish off him, scale it ourselves, gut it, put some seasoning on that, some salt and pepper and whatever seasoning we have available, and you just roast that over the fire. Or if you have time, you whatever amount of fish you get, you bring that to the house and you make some escovitch. Look up that on Google for who don't know what that is. Some escovitch fish and some either Johnny cake, or these days is more escovitch fish and festival. It set the tone right. So for me, favorite pastime because I'm so used to it. I will do it until I'm not able to do it anymore. Love to cook on the beach. And I don't know, the summer is going to look like this every nice hot day that we get. But as I said, due to my busy schedule being back, I want to apologize to you guys for not putting out some nice episode. But, I live a family first life. So the family comes first. And the fact that we weren't together all the time 8.5 weeks ago, 10.5 weeks ago now. But it's one of those things where I'm not making up time, but I want my kids to feel validated by both parents. And if it means that you have to spend extra time with them, that's what it's going to take. And I will continue doing that until, as I said, my time has come. And I don't think my time is going to come now, but if it's the Lord's will, and I have a couple more years left on this earth, I'm going to make sure every day God sent, I make my kids aware and know that daddy loves them, mommy loves them, and they are loved more than they know. So I'll end it here and appreciate for everybody tuning in. And just know, I said it many times before and I'll say it again. If anybody, whoever you are listening to this, whether morning, afternoon, late at night, please know that you can always reach out to me and ask for some words of encouragement, because I'm more than willing to provide that, because I had a lot of that over the last couple of weeks. And I do appreciate everybody that has poured into my empty cup when it was empty. And I do appreciate everybody that has reached out since I've been back. And don't feel left out if I haven't picked up the phone and called you. I have just been extremely busy. So my apologies. Nothing personal. I've just been trying to get back into some type of routine. And I really want you to know that I still value the friendship that we had when I was out of town and being in Calgary. And I still appreciate everybody that has poured into me. Please feel free to call me. I won't pick up calls late, but please feel free to leave me a voicemail. And as soon as I get your voicemail, I'll call you guys back. But again, never feel as if it's going to be a bother to reach out by text or a phone call. And I would highly recommend, if you're going through difficulties and you want to go for a coffee, I'll spend my last $2 or $3 or $4 on a coffee to make sure I can save a life, because there's nothing in this world more precious than the gift that we get from God. Every day that we wake up to see another day, it's God's true blessing that he bestowed upon us. So again, Appreciate every one of you guys for tuning in. Big shout out to all of my peeps that constantly checking on me and make sure that I'm good. And please don't feel as if it's a pressure to call me. Call me anytime in normal, business hours or early afternoon or early evening. But I will take calls and talk to people that's going through a tough time. But please stay tuned for future episodes because we're going to go in deep. And just know that a good mental health is your mental wealth. And nothing is worth you exiting this life before your time has called. Please stay safe and Rallo out. Thank you.